Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to lesson number 7 of the series of tutorial on how to build a premium theme for WordPress. Welcome again. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look on how to use the built-in media uploader to upload a custom picture to put on top of our sidebar, like we did in our design here. We want to apply a picture, we want to apply a small style to make a border radius of 50%, and then put everything central aligned. So really quickly and really in an elegant way. We could do different things actually. We could customize a standard uploader like a normal select form of HTML, and then save these changes and save that whatever file, upload manually the file inside a custom folder inside the custom meta box that we just created. But because we have the media uploader built in and we have a lot of nice functionalities, the media uploader was introduced in version 3.5, it's really great to use all the functionalities that we have in this media uploader, especially the selection files and all the options to customize the output are really well built. So let's use that and let's not do some useless amount of work. So let's get right into it and let's open our text editor. And in order to use the media uploader of WordPress, we have to include some specific file in our administration page. These files are JavaScript files because the media uploader of WordPress is built and maintained with JavaScript and mostly with jQuery. Luckily, the guy is from WordPress released a lot of different hooks and different functionalities and APIs directly available inside jQuery. So we can dynamically call all the functions of the media uploader without using weird PHP stuff. First of all, let's go inside our folder structure, and inside the JS structure, I want to create a new file called sunset.admin.js, and inside here I want to simply open a jQuery document ready function. So let's write jQuery, let's open brackets, document dot ready, brackets again, function, brackets again, $, and curly brackets, semicolon at the end, and inside here we can write all the functions that we want. Basically, if you don't know anything about jQuery, don't worry. I'm gonna tell you exactly what to write, and I'm gonna explain a little bit of jQuery too. Basically what we're doing, we are checking if the jQuery is loaded in the document and the document is ready. So this jQuery document is binding the jQuery to the generation of the document. Maybe if I write document in the proper way, is gonna work. I don't know how to write document. That's it. Let's use the complete document. Yes, that's good. Anyway, jQuery is binded to the document. The document is the actual HTML or PHP page, the actual file that it's loading. And if this document is ready, we can use this function with the $sign to use all the jQuery functions that we want. So first thing first, we have to create a variable called var. The var, V-A-R, is the generic statement to create an empty variable. And in my case, I want to create a variable called media uploader, and then semicolon at the end. And for now, let's leave it like that. We will be back later to complete this entire file. Now what we have to do, we have to include this new generated file, this sunset.admin.js, inside the administration panel, inside our custom page. So let's use the wp underscore register underscore script. And here we can use the handle that is sunset admin script, and the string of research is exactly like I did before for the style. It's the get template directory URI to point my directory inside my theme, and then /js slash sunset.admin.js. The array, if I have some dependencies, I will state it that these dependencies is jQuery because I need these dependencies to work. By default, jQuery is loaded inside the administration panel of WordPress, so we don't have to worry about including or loading jQuery, but it's always better to state dependencies of a specific file. So WordPress will know that this file cannot work without jQuery. The version of my file is usually the 1.0.0. And if I want this one in the footer, I want to state it true. I want this one in the footer and semicolon in the end. And then WP underscore enqueue script. And instead of repeating everything, we just refer the ID, the unique name that we specify for our script. Save it. Let's go back in our administration panel. Let's refresh it. Let's check if we have our .js file. And we have our sunset.admin.js file at version 1.0.0. So it's working. It's great. We don't have to worry about this thing. The other thing that I want to put inside the function to enqueue scripts in the administration panel is the actual native script of the media uploader. So the media uploader, as I said, works with JavaScript and jQuery, and everything is inside packed for us to use wherever we want inside a function that we can call in the backend, in the front end, we can call wherever we want. To do that, we have to just use a pre-built hook of WordPress as usual, calling WP underscore enqueue underscore media. This function, the WP enqueue media, will automatically handle the calling and the activation process of all the scripts and all the source code that we need to use the media uploader. So this one, it's cool, it's powerful, and it's super easy to implement because, as you notice here, it's just a function. Without these, no matter what you do, the media uploader won't work because you need these to trigger the source code of the media uploader. So always remember to enqueue these in whatever page you want to use the media uploader. Now we have to create an actual file, an actual input file to click, maybe a button to click and upload a picture and call the media uploader with that specific click. So we have to create register settings like we did in the past few lessons. So let's access our function-admin.php, and inside here, maybe before the first name, because it's actually is the first thing that I want a user to upload, is the profile picture. So let's register new settings in the same settings group. We don't want to change it, called profile underscore picture. And inside here, we can add another settings field for that specific profile picture. So let's call sidebar profile dash picture. Let's call the name is profile picture as usual. Let's change the callback function to sunset sidebar profile, and let's leave the same page ID and the same options ID. So I don't want to change the last two parameters. What I have to do, I have to create or maybe duplicate a pre-existing function and change the parameters to use my newly generated profile thing. So the profile picture calls the function sunset sidebar profile. Let's change it to sunset sidebar profile. Let's remove one variable. We need just one and can be profile. Or maybe instead of profile, let's use picture. Maybe it's more clear. And let's call the parameter, the settings that we just generated with the ID. So it's profile picture and it's profile picture. And in here, we can do some nice things. So I don't want actually in my administration panel to see the input field with the URL of the picture. That could be PNG, whatever, JPEG. I don't want to see the URL. I want that URL to be hidden into an hidden input that then has to be saved automatically by WordPress. I want, though, also, other than the hidden input, I want a button that the user can click to launch the media uploader. So what I have to do, I have to convert this input type. Instead of text, I want an hidden input type. The name has to be exactly the same as the ID that I defined. And here we can remove all the parameters that we don't need. We don't need a placeholder. We don't need the second input here. And the value has to be picture instead of first name. So now we have this hidden input. If we save and we go back in our administration panel, we refresh, we notice that we have here the field, but we don't have anything because we defined in this an input field that doesn't have any value because we didn't upload anything, but this is input. So now I have to create a button for the user to use to launch the media uploader. Open another input. Let's use the type. This input has to be a button because I want to be a button element to be clickable. We can use value to specify the name of the button, the text that the user will see in the button, and upload profile picture. And then we can use a unique ID that we definitely need to properly bind the action of opening the media uploader to this specific button. And the button ID that I want to use is upload dash button. And that's it. Let's save it. Let's go back in our backend. Let's refresh it. We have this ugly button, pre-built button of HTML that never changed since the 90s. I don't know why we still have this ugly thing from HTML 2.1. I don't know which version was it, but it's still the same. It's never gonna change. But we can style it by applying some pre-built classes of WordPress. So let's just, after the type button, let's open the class attribute and let's put inside some button class and button secondary. Let's save it. Go back here, refresh, and now we have the pre-built button that it's kind of similar to the media uploader button of WordPress. So now that we have this, we have the actual button that we can use to click and open the media uploader, but of course it is not working because we didn't bind any JavaScript or jQuery action to the uploader. So let's fix that right away. Let's access back our sunset.admin.js and let's start write some magical jQuery. So underneath the declaration of the variable, let's use the $sign to invoke jQuery, and inside the brackets, let's use single quote and let's specify an hash symbol and then upload dash button. So I'm calling the ID, I'm saying to jQuery, bind whatever action I want to this ID. This is from CSS. This is how you define an ID in CSS, and jQuery has the same attribute elements to bind a specific element in the DOM of your page. So upload button is the ID I define. Hash upload button is what I want to do, and I want to bind this to a click function. Let's right click and inside brackets, let's write function. Open again the brackets and inside we put E. The E is a generic symbol, a generic variable that is gonna be bounded to this element and the action that the element is triggering. Basically inside these E are gonna be collected all the information that comes with this button. So the destination of the button, the classes of the button, the name, the ID. So this is a really important element. Of course you can define A, W, whatever, var, you can, no, maybe var not, but like element, you can write whatever you want. E is kind of generic because it's the single letter that stands for element. So we usually in jQuery, it's usually use that one. Let's open the curly brackets. Let's always close the semicolon before opening the function. That's something I usually do. I close the semicolon immediately before opening and writing inside, because sometimes happens all the time that I forget the semicolon at the end. So I put it right on and I don't think about it anyway. So on the click of this element, I have to before e.prevent default. This function is a pre-built JavaScript function that it's blocking whatever action is bounded to the button to be triggered. So if this button it's pushing your form somewhere, or is reloading your page, or is submitting your form, with this e.prevent default, you, maybe if I write prevent default, okay. I don't know how to write today, sorry. Anyway, this function is preventing the upload button to do whatever action is bounded to that action. So it doesn't matter how many times you're gonna click that button, nothing's gonna happen. So now we have to check if our media uploader is defined, that is the variable that we define at the end. If this is true, it means it's defined, we can open our media uploader. And to open the media uploader of WordPress is just calling the media uploader JavaScript variable dot open function. That's it. And then we put a return, because if we're opening this after a click, we don't want the script to continue and to do something else that we don't want. So let's just leave it like that. So now that we created this function, we could potentially use it, but actually we didn't define anything about the media uploader. This media uploader variable is still empty, so this won't work. If we save it and we go into the administration panel and we click here, nothing's gonna happen, of course, because the media uploader is empty. So now we have to actually define the media uploader and hook the media uploader to the actual media uploader of WordPress, the actual function. So let's call the variable media uploader, and this variable is gonna be equal to wp dot media dot frames dot file underscore frame, that is gonna be equal to wp dot media open brackets inside open curly brackets, and here we can specify some custom options. So don't get scared by this piece of code. I know that can be like hard to remember, but you don't have to remember, because this code is stated inside the WordPress codex. So this is a code that you need to access the different stages of the media uploader. So we are calling the WP global variable, we are getting into the media uploader, we are accessing the frame, and we are accessing the file frame that manages all the options of our custom media uploader, and then we are customizing a bunch of media options for that uploader. As I say, you don't have to remember these, because you can find these in the codex of WordPress, so no worries about that. If you don't remember this passage, you can always check the codex and everything's gonna be fine. Now here inside the wp.media function, we can specify some text, some custom text for our media uploader. So let's specify first the title, and I wanna use the same title that I used in my button. So upload profile picture, or instead of upload, like, choose a profile picture, because of course a user could also pick something already uploaded inside the media library. Comma to separate the attributes. The second attribute is the button attribute, and inside we have to specify an array of attributes. That is, the first array is the text of this attribute, that is choose picture, just random. And then here we can put a comma. The last parameter is multiple, and I want to state it false. So this multiple parameter here, it means that a user cannot select multiple files, because as you know, probably if you open the media uploader, if you have already a bunch of different files or you're uploading multiple files, then you can select all those files all together and then put all those files inside a page of a post or whatever. In our case, we want to just the ability to select just one picture because we want to allow the user to use just one picture. So we have to specify false as a multiple options. So as you can see here, I slightly customize with this function, the wp.media function, the options of the media uploader. Let's refresh and check if it's actually working. So if we click upload profile picture, you will notice here the media uploader appeared and we have our custom option. Of course, the media uploader is the default. We can upload a file, we can access the media library. Of course, in my case now it's empty. We have the title that we specify, choose a profile picture, and here we have choose picture. If you notice and we go into the media section, if we click add new, or maybe post is better, we click add media, we have the title is insert media, we have the sidebar option for the post, and we have insert into post. So these options are different, and with the script that we just wrote, we can customize the options of the media uploader. So this is pretty handy, right? Am I right? Yeah, totally right. Anyway, let's keep going now, because now of course we can upload a picture, but when we select a picture, nothing's gonna happen. We can try just opening that, select a file. Of course, the image will be uploaded and we have our options here. We have everything we uploaded and we can click choose picture. But after we click choose picture, nothing actually happens. And if we access the source code and we check the input field, the hidden field, we notice that the value is still empty. What we want that when we click choose picture, that URL that we have inside our newly uploaded picture, inside a picture from the media library, has to be dynamically pasted inside the value here. So every time we save our changes, this value is passed inside the updated options of WordPress. So let's do that. Let's access again our text editor. Let's keep going. And if you notice here, I'm still inside the click options. And just as you notice here, probably you missed it because I edited the video because my recording just jumped a little second, but I changed this format from, it was like that, it was click, oops, it was click, and I changed it from click to on click. Doesn't really matter. The previous version is kind of old and sometimes could prevent you to have a fully functional thing, especially if the jQuery options is too updated. If WordPress switches to a jQuery 2 point something or major to 2, probably the click function won't work. So it's better use on and then click, comma, and then the function, and the code is exactly identical. So let's use this format that is safer. Inside, still remaining inside this click function, here after the generation of the media uploader and maybe the opening of the media uploader, we can bind another option to the media uploader. Like we did to open it, we can use it to check if something has been selected. So let's put a dot on, open the brackets, select. This is a binding action to the media uploader. If the user selects a picture and clicks on select this picture, comma, function, just open close bracket, curly brackets and semicolon at the end. Let's open the curly brackets, and inside here we have to retrieve the attachment URL that we want, the actual image URL. So to do that, we have to define a variable called attachment, and this variable it's equal to the media uploader. Now we have to navigate inside the media uploader, so we have to access the media uploader, go inside the state function, get what we want to get, the selection of what a user just selected, and we want just the first element, the first input that is inside the selection, and then we want to convert this into a JSON format. A JSON format is a string, a conversion of a variable, an array, to something that we can extrapolate inside jQuery. I'm gonna do maybe in the future a lesson or a series of tutorial only for jQuery, but for now also this part of code you can totally find it inside the codex of WordPress, so you don't have to remember, you don't have to use your memory to remember this portion of code. You can just check the codex of WordPress and use this one to retrieve the attachment URL. So we're going inside the media uploader, we're getting the selection of the user, and we are retrieving the first element, converting into a JSON string. With the JSON string, we can put the value of the JSON string inside the input. So let's use jQuery with $, and let's call the input field that we want to apply our code. So if we check the source code of this ID, this input field here, we don't have any ID. So what we have to do, we have to specify the ID so we can easily access that ID. Let's go back in our functions, function-admin.php, and in the generation, in the sunset sidebar profile function where we created the input, we can specify after the type hidden, we can specify ID equal profile-picture. Let's save this, and now we can use it inside our sunsetadmin.js. We can retrieve this hash profile-picture, and here we can put dot val open brackets, and we want to print the attachment dot URL and semicolon at the end. Basically what we're doing, we're scanning with the $sign our DOM, and we are looking for the input ID profile picture, and then we are applying a value to this element. That is, the value is the URL inside the attachment variable here. So this attachment variable is an array, a JSON array with all the information that come from the picture the user selected. So we want to retrieve just the URL, so we're going to do attachment.url. And at the end, we can put the media uploader.open, because if the media uploader is defined, we can open the media uploader and stop the function. But if the media uploader is not defined, we have to define it here, and after we define it, we can open it. So we need this open at the end, otherwise we have to double click the button to first generate the media uploader variable and then open it. With this one, we can prevent that double click issue. Let's save it, go back in our backend, refresh it. Let's click upload profile. We have our profile picture, open it, and let's keep an eye on this ID input profile picture that I defined here. If I select this and I click choose picture, look what happened. The value here was updated. Now we have the full URL that if I copy and paste it here in a new tab, this is the picture that I just uploaded and it's inside my profile. So if I save the changes, it's been saved, setting save, everything is reloaded. And if I check here now, I have still this value. So what I can do exactly the same that I did here. So I can print that magical value that I just saved. So let's open the templates folder and the Sunset admin, and let's write here before the full name div class image container, and here we can put div class profile picture, and here we can put image source. Let's close the image, and let's duplicate one of these options. At the beginning, let's use picture variable, and this one has to be the same ID that I define here. So profile picture, and let's print the profile picture URL. Save it. Let's go back in the backend, refresh, and now I have the profile picture. So what I have to do with the CSS file, I have to style a little bit this thing to make it look good. So let's do that. Save it. Let's go back in our refresh it. And that's the result that we have. So here we have a little bit styling problem because we defined the container with the proper border radius, height, and we want the picture to be always at the center, always filling the container. But unfortunately, because it's an image and the image has not the same ratio of the container, it's most likely will happen that a picture won't fit properly. But because we cannot control the size of the image that a user uploads, we can do a little bit of trick with a background element. So let's go back here, and instead of printing the picture URL inside image element, let's cut this. Let's remove the image element, and inside here we can put an style background dash image column URL brackets, and inside we print this. Save it, and inside our CSS we can totally remove the profile picture image we don't need here, and here we can put background position center and center, so we're gonna be sure that our background is centered every time. Then background repeat, no repeat, so we don't want the picture to be repeated infinitely inside the container. And then background size cover. The background size cover will expand the picture as a background as big as the container to fill all the pieces of the space that the container has. So it's gonna readapt automatically based on the container size. Let's go back here, let's refresh. And now we have, as you notice here, a beautiful, beautiful profile picture and our preview of the thing that we want to show, of the sidebar that we're building in. The last thing that I want to do is another trick. Basically, if happened that I want to change my picture, so I want to upload another profile picture, and I select this, and maybe I select second picture, this one here where I'm smiling with the beautiful round face, and I choose the picture is of course refreshed inside my input file here, but it's not refreshed. As you notice here, I have the photo 2, this is the photo 1, but it's not refreshed here. So that could be misleading for the user. So if I save the changes, of course the page is refreshed and the picture is uploaded. But as I say, it could be misleading for the user, because if I upload a picture, select the picture, and it doesn't change here, that could be confusing. And then, oh my god, did it work? It didn't work. What do I have to do? And so on, so on. So the good thing that we can do with jQuery is swap the element here, the background element that we put here dynamically every time a user selects a picture. So what we can do is remember first what class we apply to profile picture, and maybe define an ID to this and define profile picture preview, and use this ID to dynamically replace this string or replace just this style attribute. So let's go back in our JavaScript file, and in here, after the applying of the attachment URL to the actual input that we need, we can use pretty much the same function. So let's go back here. Let's use dollar, brackets, single quote, hash, and not this one. Let's copy the profile picture preview ID that we just defined, and here instead of value, because this is not an input, we have to access the CSS property of our element, and let's put inside the CSS brackets single quote. We have to access the property that we defined before, the background dash image. After the single quote, comma, single quote again, we have to open the URL, open the bracket, then after the single quote, we put a plus, and we put the attachment URL variable that we have here. We put another plus, then single quote, and we close the brackets. So what we did here with the CSS property, the styling property of this ID element, we are accessing the background image option that we define here inside our template, background image, and then we have to define the URL of this background image. We define the URL, and then with the plus button, the plus button is the equal identical of the dot button in PHP. So the plus button in JavaScript, if a variable plus a string, it's connecting these two strings to form a single string. So it's printing this element has a string and it's connecting everything as like a single string. So we're gonna have the URL, the brackets, and then the actual URL inside, and then we have to close the bracket. So semicolon at the end, of course. Save it. Let's go back in our administration panel. We have this picture here. If we click upload picture, we click the other picture, the one super serious and they look really smart. Let's click choose picture, and automatically, other than changing the hidden input here, also this picture has been automatically replaced without the refreshing of the page. So of course, if we save the change, of course, this picture is now saved, but this gives the ability to the user to upload as many pictures as he wants and see immediately the preview of what it's gonna look like, his beautiful face or his logo, his icon inside the sidebar without the necessity of saving the changes every time. And also for today's lesson is pretty much it. Hope you enjoy it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you really like what I'm doing, please think about clicking the first link that you can find in the description below and take a look on how you can support me and support my channel to help me to make better more videos, more tutorials, and lots of cool stuff that can improve a lot your life and make you a better developer. So thank you again, guys, and until the next video, as usual, happy coding.